All right, all right, all right. Welcome all. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Simple Coach here. I'm sure if you watched my previous video, I've working on some things and using some different software. So I tried this streaming software and figured it to use you all as guinea pigs. And I put something together based on all the games that I had watched. For those of you who are catching this for the first time, I don't know why I decided to watch probably around 200 games or so, collecting data and different information for my own edification for the most part. And so I decided of all those games, I decided I'd whittle them down to the top 5 most memorable games of 2021. And I figured if somebody came to me and said, Simple Coach, I want to watch the 5 best games that are representative of D3 soccer. That maybe not representative, but would give them some good soccer to watch. These are the 5 that I think I would choose. So, the question probably that you're asking is, okay, what makes a memorable? To each his own, and these are just the 3 things that make a game interesting to me. The first is that there's tactically something very interesting about the game. Teams with different approaches, how they play, and then how do they interact with each other. How does one break down the other, etc. Obviously, this is a game of goals, so the second thing that I would look at is goals, right? Like, I like to see goals scored. Could be end-to-end action, or there's something in build-ups that makes me say, oh, that looks really good. And then the third thing is, the only way I could describe it is I'm looking at something unexpected, either from goals or the quality of play, the intensity, or I was expecting one team to play one way and they play another. Totally catches me, and I notice those things. So these are the 5 that in some way, shape, or form were captured in those different categories. So the first one I would point to is from September 5th, when Ohio Wesleyan traveled to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to play Cavin. The teams exchanged leads, and they combined for a total of 5 goals in the second half. There were 2 outstanding players on the field. Hector Gomez, All-American from Ohio Wesleyan, and Mason Smith from Cavin. Each had 2 goals for their on the day. And this is a case where both teams saw some great soccer, but they also had stretches of struggle. And I like to see that, how teams manage the ebbs and flows of a game when they're moving the ball and everything's clicking and they're getting dangerous, and then they turn around and next thing you know, they're on their heels trying to deal with the other team coming at them. And I thought in that case, both Ohio Wesleyan and Cavin had those moments. Cavin went into the locker room ahead 1-0, and in the second half, Ohio Wesleyan turned the score around twice and ended up going ahead 3-2 until Mason Smith scored on a 1-on-1 to tie it up. And from there, it was just a blow-by-blow battle, back and forth. And after 2 OTs, and I'm sure some really tired legs, they ended up at a 3-3 tie. Then I would just throw in that despite the score, there was some great goalkeeping, especially by the Ohio Wesleyan goalkeeper, Mason Tyler, who had a couple of incredible saves in overtime to keep Ohio Wesleyan in it. Without those saves, it would have been over and Cavin would have come away with the victory. So that's one. Unfortunately, for some reason, the video feed doesn't take me anywhere, and so I can't post it or show you anything. But anyhow, so that's number 5. And so let's go to number 4, which is Washington College versus Montclair on November 14th, 2021. And this is a round of 32 game in the NCAAs where Washington went to the MSU Soccer Park in New Jersey. And the winner of this game would ultimately play Tufts in the round of 16. This was the game where I was just mesmerized by some tactical decisions in particular and how they played from the Washington coach. So, if you watched Montclair and you watched Washington, Montclair is stacked with talent all over the field. Just to name a few, number 10, Anthony Pelaez. He's one of the best attacking midfielders that I have seen this year. Number 11, Amir Lukovic, a freshman who is one of the most talented left-footed strikers. He has 17 goals, 5 assists. And then number 9, Josiah Crawford, who can run roughshod over a team's right back with his speed, and he's got some incredible ball skills. And each of those could be easily All-Americans in my book. Meanwhile, Washington has a pair of midfielders that play off. It's probably the best pair of midfielders that I've seen and how they played together. So there's number 7, Jackson Sorpa, and number 8, Ben Hogan. And then up top, number 9, Greg Adams, who just scored that goal you'd been seeing on the video. And he's the type of forward who gets one chance and buries it, and as in the case in this goal. But what struck me about this game is how different both teams were. I always look at Montclair as a collection of 11 players, individuals all. They work somewhat off each other, but not in sync at times. They seem to sort of go on their own whenever they can, not necessarily thinking about how they can, move the ball forward as a team. A lot of individualism. Washington, on the other hand, is the consummate team, if you ask me, or at least in this game. 11 guys working for each other, defending for each other, supporting each other. And that was the only way they could win that. I think that they would have won that game. If they would have gone toe-to-toe with Montclair, I think Montclair, just from a talent perspective, would have taken them. But from a tactical perspective, they Montclair played against the worst possible opponent because they couldn't get through them, because they were so well organized and defended so well that there was no way Montclair was getting through. And that was just the first half, right? In the second half, Washington came alive. I bet you at halftime, the Montclair coach was saying, "You guys keep doing what you're doing, the goal will come," because they had been getting down the field, they'd been creating some chances, and Washington was really sort of sitting back and just sort of absorbing. And I could see the Washington coach say, "Okay, now we get the ball, we play, we move it, we get forward fast." And this is what they did in the second half. They owned much of the possession. They got forward. They were definitely the more dangerous team. After the first goal, Montclair looked shell-shocked, not knowing what to do, how to do it. And Washington just kept going, moving the ball and making Montclair chase, which they're not comfortable with. This game I just consider a masterclass of coaching. It was a chess match that very few games that I've watched have I seen it that clear. So kudos to this, and I would say definitely my number 4 game, most memorable game. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Number 3 on my list from November 6th, 2021, Denison versus Kenyon. This game was the North Coast Athletic Conference Tournament final. Another tactical masterclass of a game. I think on paper, me looking at it, looking at how Kenyon plays versus Denison plays, and having watched both teams, I would have said Kenyon all day long, especially since they were playing at home, and it's a beautiful field on a lovely day. Having played there, it's a great place, and the grass is pristine. So, I thought Kenyon's got this. They're playing in a home crowd, in front of a home crowd. They're going after their fourth NCAC title in a row, and Denison just seemed to have other plans. I would say this was probably the best organized defense that I've seen all year. They were very thoughtful in where they defended and how they defended. Kenyon has a right back winger who is probably the best in his position, number 15, Luke Mather, who can single-handedly take teams out of their game just by making the runs he does and with his ball skill. And again, another All-American, if you ask me. And he was basically marked out of the game by Ethan Miracle, number 21, who basically gave him space, didn't let him beat him, kept him in front, and wasn't able to have the impact that he normally does. There were two other players for Kenyon that were neutralized. Number 8, Gerardo Martinez, who's a fantastic, skillful, little midfielder, and then a midfielder forward, Scott Upton, number 10. And those guys were basically shut down once they crossed midfield. And Kenyon just found it really hard to find those guys effectively to get dangerous. To boot, Denison was led by some outstanding goalkeeper with Dylan Brown. I mentioned Ethan Miracle. I thought was flawless defensively against Luke Mather, and number 21, Ethan Miracle, the guy I just mentioned. He was one of Denison's goal scorers, and he sat back. That was his assignment for the day. Sat back on the left side and kept the game in front of him, which is pretty remarkable. So 20 minutes in or so, Kenyon is dominating the play. It is, Denison gets the ball, tries to get forward, gets nowhere. Kenyon recovers, begins the play again. And similar type of situation. The Kenyon goalkeeper, Jack Podreski, gets the ball, tries to play it out, and goes to like 45 yards out and gets picked off by Cameron McIntosh, who hits a ball from almost just beyond midfield in Kenyon's half and launches it and hits the ball under the crossbar and beats the Kenyon keeper on the bad pass. And it was a spectacular goal. One of those goals where people think it's that easy, but it really isn't from that distance, because so many things have to go your way, and you have to almost have a presence and a calmness to actually score the goal. I'm hoping it's going to pop up right here in a second. Yeah, this I think is it. So, bad touch back. He's under a little pressure, gets the ball. Oh, boom, strikes the ball, goal, right? And that's Denison's goal for the day. And that's probably shocking to Kenyon, right? And because Kenyon had been dominating the play. From then on out, it's Denison standing like a stone wall in front of Kenyon's constant attacks. And I will say this: aside from the poor play, Denison could have gotten maybe another 2 goals if it wasn't for Podreski and his talent. He's another phenomenal goalkeeper. But Denison kept everything in front, didn't allow Kenyon get behind, and they had no answers for the day. So spectacular game. It's game that will rank that as game number 3 in my top 5. Okay, and let's go now to the next. Okay, here we go. All right, so the second best game that I watched all year comes from the Connecticut Tufts game on November 21st. And this was the game of all games, as this was for a golden ticket to the Final Four. It was a bit of a rubber match. Connecticut beat Tufts 2-0 during the regular season conference play, and then Tufts beat Connecticut 2-0 for the NESCAC tournament title. And I expected a battle. I think everyone did, but not like this. I didn't expect the amount of goals. You know, again, when you look at teams and you try to say, okay, who's got like top-notch talent, you look at Tufts and you say, oh, these guys have one heck of a roster, right? Tufts, number 3, Ian Daly, number 5, Cavin, number 11, Matty Cano, number 13, Travis Van Brewer. Connecticut, the NESCAC Player of the Year, I'm not even going to pretend to say his last name, number 14, Augie, yeah, and number 25, Stephen Ionis, and number 24, Jack Kelisoglu. When you have that much talent on the field, you can't have a bad soccer game. So, you know, Connecticut, even if you watch my previous video and you have the spreadsheet, Connecticut likes to connect the ball a lot more than Tufts does. Tufts has a ruthlessness about them getting forward and getting goals. As much as Connecticut owned the ball, Tufts is who scored first, totally against the run of play. Like I mentioned, Tufts is one of those teams where you think they might not be doing much. You think they're just sort of keeping the ball in front. They're letting the other team have it. But they have this ruthless tendency that when they decide to get forward, they can get forward fast and they can score on you very fast. So Tufts goes up twice in the first half, and Connecticut levels each time, including what I think is probably the critical point in the game, which is 19 seconds before half. They scored their second goal, the tying goal, to go into the locker room tied up. Which, right, Tufts was all exhilarated. Connecticut comes back. This second half was spectacular. I think the soccer gods were on Connecticut's side because they got 3 unanswered goals and went up 5-2, and there was 20 minutes remaining. And even I said at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is done and dusted. We're done here." But lo and behold, you know, Tufts did not go quietly into that good night, and they combined for 2 goals with 13 minutes left to get it to 5-4. And then Tufts threw everything they could to get the equalizer, and they came up short. And it would end up being Connecticut going on to the Final Four, and they're going to face Washington and Lee on Friday, December 3rd. Fantastic, fantastic game. Can't say enough about it. There was some controversy. There was a hand of God defensive ball that Jack Kelisoglu only got a yellow card. Some say it should have been a red, but what have you. Another one where the Tufts forward, I think it was Matty Cano, I'm not sure, tried to get forward with the ball and it was basically bear hugged and tackled, open field tackle. Only got a yellow card, so there was a little bit of spice to the game. So anyhow, if you get a chance to watch it, this is definitely comes highly recommended. at number 2. Okay, unfortunately, this last one does not have video. I have the link, but there's no video. And I don't know why, because this one to me is probably the best game of the year of 2021, and that's Kenyon versus Messiah on November 14th. Both teams are looking to get into the Sweet 16. The winner of this game ultimately takes on Hanover College. You watch Messiah as much as I have. You see him play once, and you know that they are without a doubt the best passing team in Division III soccer, bar none. You know, according to the passing data I collected, they are the top team with a 7.5 to 1 pass ratio, and you can expect them to make around 750 passes a game. No one comes close. They pass it like no other team, and when you play against them, it's probably one of the more exhausting games you're going to face, because all you're going to be doing is chasing. To boot, I predicted Messiah to win the national championship in the bracket challenge that was done over on d3soccer.com, the soccer boards, which even I knew after the first series of games I was completely out of, because 3/4 of my teams lost, and I tried to do serious thought into how I was picking my teams and see where that got me. So Kenyon comes into the weekend to face Messiah after having lost to Denison in the NCAC tournament finals, which was the 4th best game that I had watched, the 3rd best game that I had watched. And then in the first round, they played against Catholic University, that they dispatched 4-1. Even though they only really seemed to play in the second half. I thought Catholic were really good in the first half and had some opportunities. They had goals called back, but I just don't think Kenyon was thinking about that game until they got startled and came out in the second half and just sort of ran the boards. Messiah faced Mount Aloysius and beat them handedly 2-0. So from the outset, Kenyon went after Messiah and pressed mercilessly and really tested Messiah's ability to pass. Kenyon actually had a number of opportunities until Messiah was awarded a penalty kick for a hold in the box. You know, the announcers seemed to be so sure of the penalty. I was not, but so be it. I'm watching video, and like most of you are, and they go ahead 1-0. So Messiah manages to get some control of the ball in that first half, but Kenyon is still pressing hard, closing down passing lanes, really not giving a lot of options to Messiah. And they go into the half. The key thing about that Kenyon was able to do, though, that really sort of highlighted, and in previous games as well, highlights Messiah's vulnerability, is on quick counters when they're pressing forward and passing the ball. If that pass gets picked off in the right space and moves up top, they are caught chasing in a pretty bad way, because when they get on attack, it's a full team gets on the attack, and so they can expose themselves in the back. And Kenyon seemed to get this. Okay, so they go into halftime, and lo and behold, Kenyon comes out and just starts to go at Messiah. Messiah cannot control the ball. They cannot hold on to the ball. They they managed to get the ball up just by kicking and clearing it. This was not the Messiah team that I had watched before, and Kenyon was really taken to it. I failed to mention, I'm sorry, that Kenyon had tied it up in the first half. No, excuse me. Sorry. Oh, just got all confused there. So Kenyon actually managed to get an equalizer about 30 minutes left in the second half, and just went on a tear. And Messiah looked like nothing that they ever looked in the past. And as you know, soccer's a really cruel sport. One of my favorite Messiah keeper, the mullet, Jared Pavlovich, comes up with a spectacular save to his left side that somehow bounced off the crossbar on a header, and I mean, he got his hands on the ball, comes out, gets cleared out, and literally goes to Matt McDonald up top, who manages to get the ball, goes forward, goes to the line, turns his defender, and just drops an easy ball back to the 6, where Ben Lefebvre is there 6 yards out and beats the Kenyon keeper, Jack Podreski, for the go-ahead goal with about 8 minutes left. And when I say they didn't deserve the goal, they didn't deserve the goal. They only deserve the goal because this is soccer and you get what you score. So Kenyon could not find the back of the net, and Messiah, just like that, just remarkably got the go-ahead. And, you know, Kenyon battled till the end, and actually with, I don't know, I think it was like 8 seconds, literally rifles the ball off the crossbar in a melee of stuff going on. And Messiah managed to pull the rabbit out of the hat and come away with the victory. I would say next year, again, I don't know who graduates and all that stuff. I'll figure that out later. But I would say that probably if I'm going to pick a national champ for next year, my first pick's going to be Kenyon, because I think they are that good. They just need to polish up in front of goal. So, okay, so there you have it. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is all a test for me. If you have any questions, you want my passing spreadsheet that I offered in the first video, you could email me right there, sc149249@aol.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know if there's games that I should watch, and I will post the videos that I do have. I will post them in the description, I guess, below. And yeah, thanks. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk soon.